that we are the cheapest. It is absolutely a game where you can make a lot of money, but you have to decide to be in that game day one. I have spent the vast majority of my life on the premium side, which is where I would recommend most of you go, because service businesses are inherently more difficult to scale because you have to scale headcount. And so if you're going to have 20 people that work for you, I'd rather be making $1 million per person than making less than that. I'll just say that. I'd rather make $1 million per person because then it'll be worth the headache that comes with the headcount. So that's shape number 2. Drum roll, please. That brings us to shape number 3. So quick guess, what do you think this is? This is an education, consulting, info, media business. My credibility around information businesses is that I happen to own a software platform that allows people to start information businesses called School. And so I have access to quite literally millions of data points in terms of what makes this business work and what doesn't. I've also been somebody who's consumed a lot from the alternative education world and done a lot of studying on like what makes these businesses work, because as somebody who is a continuous student of all games, especially the business game, I always want to see what separates the best from the rest. A nice little rhymey. And as somebody who's an educator in general, from a YouTube content perspective, like what are the different models that exist here? Let's dive in. So what is the shape? This shape scales faster than any other of the 4 shapes. You can notice that it's almost a straight line up. And so this business makes money quickly. And then it hits a hard stop where it becomes very difficult to make more money from there. So why is it shaped this way? So one of the most difficult parts about information or education related businesses is that there's low retention, right? If you do a good job educating someone, they graduate. Your high school isn't like, oh my God, I can't believe we didn't retain that kid. The goal is not to retain them, right? The goal is to actually graduate them. Now, what's the continuity program for education? Well, you go 4 years of high school, you go 4 years of college, then you have a master's degree, then you have a PhD, then you have a double PhD. So they definitely have an ascension program, right? But the point ideally is that you provide more value than the cost of the education. And then as a result, this person now has a skill that is more valuable in the workplace, right? That, in the competitive environment. That's the point. So the reason that education can make so much money so quickly is that if you have a valuable skill and that skill is unique and difficult to acquire in the marketplace, then you can charge a big amount of money for something that actually costs you very little. It costs you a lot of money and time to acquire the skill one time for you, but then you get to duplicate that skill through the education over and over again through other people. And so I'll just use simple math here. If I can teach someone a skill that takes them from $40,000 a year to $100,000 a year, many people would pay lots of money to add $60,000 of income per year for the rest of their life. That's an unbelievable valuable proposition. So what would somebody be willing to pay for that? A lot. The education industry at large, I think the last time I checked is like 10 trillion globally. It's a very big industry because if we think about an economy at large, there are only 2 things that drive GDP, gross domestic product, the production of the economy: education and technology. And that's per capita, right? So if per person, what do you got? They can get more skills and they can have more tools to use those skills. That's what drives GDP. And so it's a huge driver of the economy, which is why education is such a massive market. Now, it's shaped